In this movie, I'm going to show you how to install my custom D keys keyboard shortcuts, and these are the exact same steps that you take whether you're working on the Mac or the PC. Now, I should stress something. If you've worked on one of my previous courses, whether it's Photoshop CS5 101 Fundamentals, Advanced, or Mastery, then you do not need to reinstall D keys. These are the exact same D keys included with those movies. I include them here just for those of you who have not installed them in the past. Inside the 00 setup folder, you're going to find a subfolder called D keys PSCS5 101. Go ahead and open it up, and then at the bottom of the list, you'll see D keys PSCS5 101.kys. You want that .kys file, whether you're working on the Mac or the PC. Right-click on it, and then choose Open With, and be sure to choose Photoshop CS5. Here's the problem. Premiere and Premiere Pro both also recognize the .kys file format, and so does Photoshop Elements. And so you don't want to open up the wrong program. Anyway, make sure to choose Adobe Photoshop CS5, and that'll go ahead and launch the program if it's not already running. It'll also bring it to the foreground. It will not show you the .kys file because it's not an image file. However, you did just change your keyboard shortcuts, even though Photoshop isn't giving you any indication that anything's happened. Here's what you do. You go up to the Edit menu, and you choose a keyboard shortcuts command where you press Control-Shift-Alt-K, Command-Shift-Option-K on the Mac. And I want to mention something. Throughout this series, I mention the keyboard shortcuts in exactly the opposite order that they appear in the menus. You may wonder why I do that, because that is the standard convention. That's what everybody does. It's just the operating systems that decide to show them to you backwards. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and choose the command, and you'll notice that the set now reads Photoshop defaults in my case. It may say something different for you, but you'll see the word modified in parentheses. That shows you that your keyboard shortcuts just got changed. To confirm that they got changed in the right way, twirl open File by clicking on that little twirly triangle, and then scroll down the list until you come to the Place command. It should have a keyboard shortcut now of Control-Shift-Alt-D or Command-Shift-Option-D on the Mac. Now, assuming that it does, this is a good time to go ahead and back up your keyboard shortcuts so that they're safe, and you do that by clicking on this little floppy disk icon, and then go ahead and name the file. And I'm going to call mine D keys PSCS5 101 like so, and then click the Save button. And now you'll see that name up here in Set. You're done. You can click OK in order to accept your modifications. Now, one other thing I want to mention, I'm going to go ahead and minimize Photoshop so I can see my folder once again. Notice that I've gone ahead and included these little HTML files that you can open inside your favorite browser. One's for Windows and one's for Mac. So I've listed the Macintosh and Windows keyboard shortcuts independently. I'll double-click on the Windows file because, after all, I'm working on the PC. Notice that I've listed all of Photoshop shortcuts, Photoshop's default shortcuts in black, and all of my revised shortcuts in red. And if you scroll down the list, you'll see that Place has a revised shortcut and so forth. One of the ones I want to mention to you, just because it becomes very important in the series, in addition to levels and curves down here under Adjustments, having their default keyboard shortcuts of Control-L, Command-L on the Mac, Control-M for curves or Command-M on the Mac, those apply static adjustments. Well, static adjustments aren't going to come in too handy when you're working with 3D layers inside of Photoshop. We're going to be applying those commands, but as adjustment layers, which is why I've also gone ahead and given you keyboard shortcuts for those adjustment layers. Control-Shift-L or Command-Shift-L on the Mac gives you a levels adjustment layer. Control-Shift-M or Command-Shift-M on the Mac gives you a curves layer, and so forth. All right, so that's how you go about installing my custom D keys keyboard shortcuts inside Photoshop. For those of you who are working on the Mac, you have one more step. You need to go ahead and change your operating system level shortcuts, and I'll show you how to do that in the very next movie. It's only for Macintosh people. If you're working on Windows, you don't have this problem, and you can go ahead and skip ahead to the movie on color settings.